of insecticides into structural wood. Peggy wants to know, how deep does it go? How long does it last? Looking at different insecticides. A little bit about moisture content, but another student already did that. So, I don't know, those two get to talking. So Peggy said, well, let me look at that. So what Peggy did was to look at the application of insecticides to structural wood, given what labels say. What labels say. Labels, there's no data to support those labels. Labels say 1 gallon per 350 square feet to the point of runoff. They've got no data for that. They just make that stuff up. And Peggy looked at that and said, really? And she did what Jane did. She said 100 times less than runoff, there's no difference in penetration. She did 50 times. And to make it better, we published in the American Society of Testing and Materials. So you have access to that data. You can still read labels on wood protection. They say, spray to the point of runoff or to the point of saturation. I don't know what that is. No, you don't need that. You do not need to do that. You don't benefit from that. And labels will say, for old wood, you need to apply. No, that's not true either. Just make that stuff up. So you don't need to over-apply if you think in that crawl space it's old. It doesn't make any difference. Or if it's new, and you don't need to spray to the point of runoff. There is no value to it. The penetration of insecticides into wood is really very limited, but that's okay. It's still going to get to your target pest. So, anyway, and Peggy actually, Peg, she delivered droplets one at a time. Jane made a machine to put her droplets down, but Peggy had a different system, and she delivered them one at a time. Well, David Byron worked on fleas in house. We wanted to know where they were and all that sort of thing. But David was into nozzles, and there was no stop. So David's looking at flea control mentality, flea control strategies, and people spraying carpets, for flea control. And so David was interested in, well, sort of like Peggy, how deep does it go? Where is it going? It ain't going. It does not. It does not penetrate more than about a third into that carpet. Regardless of pressure, it's not going there. So that started a whole adventure we had with Monsanto carpeting people. If you think nozzle people are nerdy, whoa, I want you need to deal with carpet people. They never smile. They are totally serious. And they are totally dedicated to their job, and their job is not to let anything penetrate that carpet more than our insecticides. They don't want to do that. They want to have it at the surface so you can sop it up. And there's some amazing technology in carpets. It's incredible. They're very happy for dirt to fall down here. Oh, please. And it will. Liquid, no, not so much. The aspect of carpeting and spraying for flea control, no, this doesn't work. So as an aside, a while ago, we published a paper in the late 80s on staining. There was this craze of insecticides were staining carpeting. It turned out not to be true, by the way. So we were working with Monsanto on would this insecticide result in staining if something else was applied to that carpet after the insecticide. It was a long thing. And with all the science of carpeting, well, we were totally impressed, except when they explained to us the test. The test for staining in carpeting at that time was red Kool-Aid. You put red Kool-Aid on a carpet, if it doesn't come up, it stains. And they weren't letting red Kool-Aid touch any of that Monsanto stuff. They got it all up. Insecticides were not staining carpets. It was a thing. It never amounted to anything. But what we learned about penetration of spray droplets into carpeting was that, no, don't be hosing down the carpeting to control what? It's not going very far. And your target pest is not anywhere near close to it. Well, once again, Jing she worked day and night. So when you sit and deal with cockroaches, as Jing did, we're interested in grooming behavior. Cockroaches groom their antennae about once every 3 minutes. And, that can be sort of amusing. And they'll stop and figure out where the next escape route is. And they'll do that about once every 5 minutes if you put it in a container. So we were interested in dust, cockroaches picking up dust, and then what happens to that dust? Well, if we go to the end, what happens to that dust is cockroaches groom their antennae. They groom their antennae through their mouth parts. So they reach up with this leg, grab that antenna, whoosh, pull it to their mouth parts, sort of groom it, let it go. With this leg, grab it, and groom them both. So we looked at that. We looked at how much dust gets on a cockroach antenna and that sort of thing. These two boys, just totally crazy. These two guys figured out what cockroaches do with their antennae. So when a cockroach is just standing there thinking about whatever, the antennae are actually up, elevated, kind of into the air. So there's the track of them. When they're walking or running, the antennae are actually pointed down, very close to the ground, or with the surface. So they can pick up dust, and they will. You don't need a lot of dust. You don't need that much dust. That dust is inactive. It's inactive. So once a little bit of dust gets directly into the mouth parts, it's a lethal dose. Bang, you're dead. So over applying dust is not necessary. And that cockroach can, think about this. This is a cockroach walking or running. See where the feet are? See where the antennae are? Cockroach wants to know what it's walking on. It's no fool. It's going to figure out what's out there. If it has a sense that there's a lot of dirt on the surfaces. Cockroaches don't like dirty feet. There's a lot of stuff on the surface, they'll just back off. So you can over-apply dust, and it's not necessary. So a little sideline. If you introduce graduate students to a scanning electron microscope, and they trick you into having an open purchase order, they'll take pictures of every damn thing. So, and it's $250 an hour. So, didn't they have such a great time? And Jean was taking her foot pictures, she's taking antenna pictures, I got the beetle guys taking pictures of the beetles. It's just crazy. But scanning electron microscope is addictive. You can sit there and it's just crazy. All right. So where are we now? Where we are now is that you're thinking about droplets. You're not thinking about spraying anymore. You're thinking about applying droplets. That's what you do. That's your goal, to put droplets on a surface because you know what's going to happen to those droplets. They're going to dry. It's going to create a lethal residue. It doesn't have to, those droplets don't have to be elbow to elbow. It doesn't have to be a film of insecticide on the surface. We're not doing that anymore. And I got to convince you that cockroach walking on that treated surface is going to pick up a lethal dose, and it's going to die. Done. You can't make it more dead. I got to convince you that over-application to structural wood to the point of runoff, totally wrong. You don't need that. It's done. You're not getting any benefit from that. Don't be hosing down carpeting either. Don't be over-applying dust. It's not necessary. More is not better in any of those scenarios. So we have to come to grips with that as an industry, that less is more. These days of just hosing the place down, those days have to be gone. All right. So here's my problem. Here's my problem. I'm dealing with 21st century insecticides, applying with a class science project, 1946. That's my problem. That's where we are. We've got insecticides, fipronil, remember? 0.006. I think when you use it, it's now 0.007. Trust me. There's somebody somewhere who's going to have something, and it's going to be 0.0006. We're not done. We're not done with insecticides. You know right now we've got just, and I stopped with neonicotinoids because I can't pronounce the new ones. I'm totally lost on how to say them. But we've got insecticides now, and the neonics are the start of that. We've got insecticides now that have reasonably no mammalian toxicity because the muscle, the nerve attachment to our muscles is different than theirs. So, and that's going to continue. You're in a situation where not so long in the future, insecticides are going to have little or no mammalian toxicity, and you're going to use it at a very low rate. Done. That's going to be. We'll still have the pyrethroids. We're still using this 0.1 and 0.2. But there's a revolution coming, I guess. We're getting better insecticides all the time. My problem is the technology to apply them isn't there. So where are we going? From a nozzle head, I have to say, where are we going? What's the deal? Our application tools are 70 years old. This is a class project. We're still plumbing. I'll talk about that. We've got application methods and habits that I'm not particularly happy with. Primarily habits, but methods that need to be changed. We'll talk about whether we should measure or meter delivery. And then I want to talk a little bit about time and talent. But Bobby Corrigan, he showed, I think maybe he showed the cover page of his article that talked about rodent bait stations. It's the subtitle. It's the subtitle of that article. It says, new science shows that it's time for a shift from an outdated equipment paradigm. That is the subtitle of that article that Bobby Corrigan rocked the boat. Yeah, he kicked that door open. It's the equipment paradigm. So, well, there it is. Bobby's saying 80 plus years. 80 plus years, they're still doing the same silly thing with rodent bait stations. That's where we are. This is the 21st century. We're still pumping a sprayer. That's crazy. It is totally crazy. It's inefficient. It's inaccurate. That's got to stop. You can't. We've been pumping for 7 years. That has to stop. The flow rate varies all over the map. Come on, I know you don't repressurize that thing. I hated to do it too. I never did. You know the proper number of times. I just get bored and kept going. We have to fix that. That can't be. So we're operating at 35 psi. Who decided that? What is this crazy? So at 35 psi, we've got a 50-degree angle. 17 ounces a minute. When do we ever never need 17 ounces a minute? I don't know who decided that either. But I know you can drop to 20 psi, and you can shrink down to 14 ounces a minute, and you can shrink that spray angle down to 7.5 inches, and you can fairly well hit the target. So I don't know where we are here. We've been doing stuff just because we've been doing stuff. You can change the droplet impact on a surface by dropping the pressure. And the impact is heck again. So that's where we are. Application hasn't. Andy's giving me.
No, you're good, bro.
Okay, sorry. All right. Remember, we're talking droplets now. I want us to understand a little bit more about those droplets that we're putting out. So there's a spray pattern for a fan spray. I didn't show the nozzle, but that's the typical distribution of liquids in a fan spray. And the distribution is that they're all in the middle. It's all in the middle and very little at the sides. That's what fan sprays do. That's ag nozzle. That's what ag nozzles do. Because this guy, he's stringing his nozzles next to each other. He's getting overlap. He's done. So I'm trying to show you here. I only sprayed one side. I only collected water from one side, really. And what I'm trying to show you is pretty dramatic, really. This is the middle, and then, whoa. I mean, I could have put more liquid in there, sprayed it longer, but you get the point. It's dumped in the middle. I don't know why we do that. That's an ag nozzle. We don't need to do that. Anyway, this is more David Byron's work. David was interested in nozzles. What are we doing? Well, we can fix that though. It's not like this isn't the 21st century. We can get a 50015E. There are E nozzles. And instead of that, it looks like that. And it's pretty evenly distributed. Yeah, that's what we're about. An even distribution of droplets on the surface. That's what we need to do. We make brass nozzles. Hardness of 3.5. Hardness of 4.5. Brass nozzles last twice the time. They're more expensive. It's just money. It's just money. If they last twice as long, come on. So, physics, the mechanical engineer guys will tell you that a can is the most inefficient way of storing any kind of liquid because the sides have to be reinforced and there's potential of leaking, there's a lot of pressure. How many can-shaped water towers have you ever seen? 0. It's just not an efficient way to have liquid under pressure or to store liquid. So if we look at what the Egyptians figured out, they got these crazy looking wine bottles. And you know, people have talked for years about those. Why? No, it's pretty straightforward. It takes 27% less material to make a teardrop shape than it does a barrel shape. Those Egyptians were fools. I suppose it took 27% less time. So the can is not exactly the best shape for us. We've had it now. The class project, I'm not so sure it's the best shape for us. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm sorry. So I got application habits to worry about. So Claude is a postdoc of mine, who was a technical director of B&G. Claude and I looked at training and where people get information. And so we surveyed pest control companies. Say, hey, where do you get your information for training? See this big yellow bar here? That's on-the-job training. Holy crap. That's on-the-job training. So my hope of changing the next generation is in jeopardy because the last generation is training them. Oh, you're killing me. So I need to, that's why I wrote the Blue Manual, to get some training. All right, Andy's giving me the...
I haven't even looked at you.
Oh, cool. Okay. All right. So here's the question. I've got people that I don't know if I can change. I don't know. Especially if the geezers train in the new guy. I don't know. But you know, I have to figure that out. So what are my choices? Well, we can put a flow meter on that. We can measure how much that service tech is applying. I don't know what that does for me. It just tells me how bad the job was. Whether it was done correctly or not, I now know how much it was. No, it means. Does it change any habits? No, probably not. I don't think it's going to improve application to know how much you apply. I would sort of rather meter the dose. I would rather to know exactly how much you're applying every time you pull the trigger, so it doesn't change. You can pull it 50 times if you like, and I'll just smack you and tell you not to do that. But I would rather meter it so that I can force you to think where you're applying it. And think about how many times you're going to click. I think a metered approach is probably better for us, because then we can regulate what goes in. Anyway, it's something to think about. Andy, I only have a few more. Time and talent. Time and talent bothers the brains out. This is a PCT article, and it talks about productivity. You see there's a big clock there. So, yeah, time and talent. So, if you give talent only a short period of time, then why worry about talent? If you have an experienced service tech, why are you putting the clock on? So, I struggle with time and talent. Whether you only have this amount of time for this account call. Then don't hire talent. Just hire someone who can do it in 30 minutes and be done. So there's a struggle there. I think this is the last one. So where do we go from here? We need to catch up. Yeah. We need to catch up. The science is there. We need to catch up. We need to, come on, we need to get there. Please, droplets. All right, one last thing. Now, you're in an hour, you're going to forget. 42%. Tomorrow, about 33%. You're going to remember. Come Monday, this is like history. This is my last shot at it. Droplets. Think about droplets. Not talking about spraying anymore. Think about droplets. You're putting out droplets. You're not hosing it down. They're not more dead. Okay? Just back off. Droplets. Change the damn nozzle. Come on. It's easy to do. And remember, 22 inches and we got you. Just put it in the right place. Can't swim halfway across the lake. Once he's out there, you got him. He'll pick up a lethal dose. All right, Andy. Thank you.